30s, and recently I've gotten really into dispersed camping, essentially packing a tent and camping gear into my truck, and then driving out and camping on public lands. Sometimes it was on small trails off the side of a highway or on forest roads. Either way, I loved it. This was during a drive where I actually had a destination, which was my older sister's place in Bend, Oregon. Along the highway, on my third night of driving, I pulled off on a small trail with a few dispersed camping spots, just flat areas to park and set up at. The highway I was on was one of those single-lane, very desolate roads, not many people on it at all, and the trail I was camping on wasn't marked or anything either. It was just some random pull-off that formed from other cars or trucks over the years, although it was pretty overgrown, so it didn't look like it was hardly ever used. Maybe a couple cars a year, if just that. By the time I parked and got set up, the sun was down, and I was exhausted. I was a day ahead on my drive, so I didn't mind going to bed early and staying an extra day tomorrow to relax. I still made dinner and tried to enjoy a campfire, but got inside the tent and tried to sleep around 9:30. I woke up a little past midnight, I think 1:15-ish. The only reason I know that is because I was up long enough that I eventually checked my phone. I couldn't get back to sleep. However, I also didn't know why I'd woken up to begin with. Maybe my body unconsciously heard something while I was sleeping, but for a whole hour, I laid there awake, with no idea why I couldn't sleep, until I heard a scream. It was for sure a woman's voice, and it sounded pretty far, but I couldn't tell how far. It seemed to come from the direction of where the highway was, about a half mile away. After that one scream, though, there was nothing. Complete silence. Don't get me wrong, it freaked me out, but I think as time passed, I started to second guess whether it really was a woman, or if I had mistaken an animal call where I was. The chances someone else was out here, not just driving, but screaming just once, it didn't add up. Eventually, with the silence, I fell back asleep. In the morning, and that whole day, really, nothing happened. It was a relaxing, chill day, hanging out at the campsite. However, as soon as the sun went down, I heard it again. That scream. I had just started my campfire and was wide awake, and heard it as clear as day. It 100% came from the road. Obviously, writing this back, I definitely should have just left, or at least not done what I'm about to tell you. It was stupid, but I decided to walk out a half mile to the highway and look around. I think because the sun had just gone down, it felt safer than going out truly in the middle of the night, and I felt I either had to check now or never check and never have answers. What if it was a woman needing help? And honestly, I thought the worst that could happen is I get there, see something that I don't like, and just run back to my truck and leave. Anyway, I got my flashlight, and I walked out there, hearing her scream and yell every couple of minutes, and each time it was louder, so I was definitely getting closer, until just as I was getting up to the highway, I realized I hadn't heard her scream in a few minutes. I walked up and onto the shoulder of the road. It was dead quiet and completely deserted. Every direction I looked was either empty road or pitch black forest. The lack of sound was almost more unsettling than the scream I was hearing. I stayed there for a good 4 or 5 minutes before getting too uneasy and starting to walk back. The walk back felt long and, well, uncomfortable. There was that itching feeling like something wasn't right, but I didn't know what to do about it. The fact the scream stopped once I got up to the road was a disturbing thing to think about. Like, had someone seen me? The woods stayed quiet though, and eventually I could see my tent and campfire still burning. But when I got closer, I saw something move. There was someone at my campsite, a woman, walking around and looking through my stuff. She didn't look like she was trying to be sneaky or cautious, though. She actually looked so calm and unconcerned that it freaked me out even more. Why wasn't she scared of me coming back to the campsite? It made me hesitant to approach and confront her. And then she walked around the fire, sat in my chair, and didn't move. The woman was waiting for me. Something about her and this whole situation wasn't right at all. She didn't move or look around. She just faced forward, motionless, sitting there and waiting. I stayed behind a tree and watched. No way in hell I was going up there until she left. And I ended up being there for an unnerving amount of time, possibly 2 or 3 hours. The woman stayed sitting in the chair, motionless, for that entire time, even as the flames from the fire started to burn out, until it went fully dark. I couldn't see anything anymore. A few minutes of this overwhelming darkness passed, and then I heard that scream again, right from my campsite. A few moments later, footsteps started crunching on the leaves, heading toward me. They got closer and closer. I mean, like just a few feet away from me. That's how dark it was. The footsteps passed right by me and continued down the trail toward the highway. Once they faded out, I turned on my light and ran to my camp, packing up and leaving immediately. I didn't see her on the road or the trail when I left. I made it to Bend, and after that, I never camped in any desolate place like that again. Not alone. I'm not even going to try to give some sort of explanation for what happened out there.